There's a report that ended up coming out saying that the ICE agents that have recently been hired consist of a large chunk of people from the Israeli Defense Forces coming over into America. And I'm of this weird idea that maybe, just maybe, you should take those ICE agents who are from the Israeli Defense Force, the Israelis that have been over battling Islamic terrorism, and send them over into cities like, I don't know, Dearborn, Michigan, Minneapolis, places like that. And you guys are going to see why here in a little bit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I see you guys are all jumping in, all excited like a bunch of little kids, kind of like this lady up here on your screen, ready to get going. Seditious Six ends up having some more problems over inside of the FBI. They are currently investigating them, allegedly. That's going on. Meanwhile, that situation really hasn't changed. Senator Kelly is still whining and complaining on social media, posting up crappy photos of his uniform as if that means something. Oh, my goodness. Meanwhile, ICE raids across the United States are causing a buttload of issues. Woman over inside of Chicago ended up getting set on fire on a bus, and then a massive riot over inside of a New York City suburb ended up getting freaking smashed by this violent car club, lighting a freaking car on fire, going over, attacking a resident, broke his freaking collarbone, all sorts of other crap. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a great episode for you coming up. But before I do that, I just want to show you guys, TikTok supports communism. TikTok does. Watch this.
As you know, ICE raided North Carolina, and North Carolinians found out which hotel they were staying at, and they slashed over 50 tires in one sitting. And you too can slash over 50 tires with the knife set that was used by clicking that orange card below. As you know, ICE raided North Carolina, and North Carolinians...
Oh, my God. Is she wearing white after Labor Day, says the devil you don't know? No, bro. I don't even know what to say to you at this point. How late am I? You're not late at all, man. You're just now jumping in. Andreas says it did not take long for them to bring Israel into this. No, it didn't. I've got the whole report if you actually want to see. You guys don't believe me? Here. You want to see it? Yeah, they're no kidding accusing Israel of coming into this freaking garbage. I can't make it up. Hold on. They are. They're saying Israel. Hold on. Yep, Israel. It did. It only took them a matter of weeks to blame this on the Jews. Can't make it up. And for those of you that are new to the channel, number one, subscribe. Two, no, I'm not Jewish.
And we just found out that a lot of ICE agents are actually IDF soldiers.
Oh, no.
This is crazy as fuck. I need everybody to save this video just in case it gets taken down again. I just did a video about 30 minutes ago. I've been trying to get it appealed. The appeal did not get approved. Anyways, I presented some identities, of certain ICE agents located specifically in Chicago. A group that I associate myself with went through some public records and found over 2,000 ICE agents, right? Well, throughout those 2,000 ICE agents, specifically 121 of them, right, had experience as an ex-IDF soldier. If you went up and down this entire list of individuals, you'd notice that their last names in particular, right, all lead back to one specific location with no other job experience. And maybe it won't let me post it because it's personal information. I have no idea. But there's literally a whole motherfucking list of these people, and they all look the same, which tells me...
Oh, no. Not ICE agents that served in the IDF, God forbid. Personally, again, I think they ought to get sent to Dearborn. If what he's saying is true, which I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I've seen so much misinformation that ends up getting presented lately, and I'll give you guys some examples here in a little bit. I could care less. And it really doesn't matter to me. Who really cares? As a matter of fact, with the amount of Islamic extremism that's being shoved into the United States of America, it would actually be a pretty smart move for ICE, CBP, DHS, whoever, to go actually hire IDF soldiers to bring them over here into America in order to track some of those pieces of garbage down. Mike Lee says, so the lady who got caught on fire in Chicago was from my hometown in Indiana. Oh my God, dude, that's freaking horrible. What the hell is wrong with people? Yeah, that guy had been arrested over 70 something times, including felony convictions and several other things. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. It got to the point where Trump actually made a speech about
all the crime that took place last night, the night before, the woman with the burning, they burned the woman. To be talking about that now, they burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again. But we're ready to go. We've been moving toward Chicago. We have a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only 7 people were killed this week. But we are moving.
We've got a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only 7 people were killed this week. Dude, just not the governor either, man. Like the federal judge that ended up like going over and fighting Bovino ended up saying that they're trying to move past their history of violence. 27 people shot, 3 people killed. And that's just over this last weekend over inside of Chicago. Not to mention the lady that ended up getting set on fire on a freaking bus. Like it's ungodly to me, or I'm sorry, subway, whatever. Dude, guy like literally walks up to her with a can of gasoline, pours it on her, strikes a match, like boom, Bob's your uncle, and she's up and in flames. Thing was captured on video. It's floating around social media. I apparently have been pissing off YouTube lately, so I don't want to put that video up there, but part of me has got like half a mind to go ahead and share it anyways.
Toward doing, and we're going to, if crime gets, it's horrible what's happening in Chicago. We could make Chicago a safe city in a period of 4 weeks. In a period of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, it would be totally safe. And the people of Chicago want us to go there. And if you look at the crime that's taken place in Chicago in the last 2 weeks, just take a look. It's on the front page of every newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. He ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago safe. We're going to lose a great city if we don't do it quickly. Make Chicago. We'll do the same thing as we did in D.C., the same thing as we did everywhere we've gone.
Yeah. Just send in the dang National Guard already, man. It is beyond comprehension why we haven't done that yet. Activate the National Guard, shove them into the freaking cities, and just make it happen. Send them to Portland, send them to freaking North Carolina, send them to freaking New York City, send them down to freaking Dearborn, for crying out loud, and solve this problem. The answer is pretty simple. Solve for X. X equals National Guard. Put them in there. Take care of the dang issue already. It is getting old. Clearly, the mayors, the police departments, nobody wants to do a dang thing about it. Holy freaking cow. It's so bad. It's so bad that even with people getting killed, they're not doing a dang thing about it. Over inside of Oregon, we ended up having a young girl that actually got killed by an illegal alien cruising around with a freaking driver's license issued by, you guessed it, the state of Oregon.
This story is developing tonight. A tragedy in Idaho putting an Oregon law in the spotlight. Boise police are investigating a deadly crash that left an 8-year-old girl dead earlier this month. The alleged driver involved an undocumented immigrant from Honduras with an Oregon driver's license.
DHS says he was ordered removed from the U.S. in 2016 after missing an immigration hearing. K2's Tanvi Verma joins us outside the DMV in downtown. Tanvi, what do non-citizens have to show to get a driver's license?
Good question.
So, Deb, think about it like it's the same for everybody. You don't have to prove you're a citizen. All you need to do is prove that you live here and, of course, that you passed all the tests.
Really?
It's a law that countless Oregonians had protested.
I've gotten multiple driver's licenses in my day, and they require multiple forms of identification, including U.S. citizenship, social security card, birth certificate, passport, things of that nature, like actual verifiable IDs. Menace 99, yes, the Chechen. I actually went over it this morning on this morning's show. He ended up making terroristic threats back at the beginning of October. I'll get there in a second because there's a lot of people that aren't going to know what you're talking about. Old Man Y says, don't need National Guard, just need police held accountable for not doing their job and higher ups. Right. Honestly, what they need to do is just take over the dang police force in a lot of these different cities because they're quite literally doing nothing. And you're about to hear a statement from a mayor here in a little bit that you're going to see what actually happened and what actually went on. And you're going to be pissed. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be pissed, not just about New York City, but in another place as well. They quite literally don't give a crap.
For the right for non-citizens to be able to obtain a driver's license. The Equal Access to Roads Act passed in 2019 and went into effect in 2021.
I don't want to target people, but come legally. You know, that's all that needs to happen.
Margot Logan testified against it.
The problem that I have is not so much with non-citizens, it's with the government and how the government performs or doesn't perform. And so I don't want this to be an attack on anybody, but we need to have laws. We need to have things be legal.
P. Coons.
You don't want it to be an attack on anybody. Look at this lady right over here that's actually doing the talking. I could really care less about whether or not people perceive it as an attack. Simple fact is that we are a nation of law and order, and you either follow the law and become a productive member of society, or you get the hell out. And that includes when you cross the border into this country. If you cross the border illegally, you've got no business being in this country. Holy freaking cow. Like, I wasn't even going to bring this one up, but I'm going to, because it's just so freaking irritating about what some of these idiots actually out there end up saying. And right after this, I'm going to move into New York. Sky God's in the house, blessing the chat, 20 Speak the Truth memberships, just dropping them like they're hot. Listen to this guy.
How could this happen to my father in the same country I proudly serve?
Oh, by the way, his stepdad got deported.
This is the long, prideful embrace between a father and son back in April, the day this 22-year-old from Staten Island graduated from basic training for the National Guard. Since then, times have changed.
My stepfather, who has raised me for as long as I can remember, and who I consider my true father, was taken into ICE custody while on his way to work.
That was Tuesday morning around 6:30 when the 41-year-old father of 5 from Mexico was arrested by ICE.
My sister called me, crying, to tell me,
father of 5 from Mexico, son joins the National Guard, must be a good law-abiding citizen.
What had happened. In that moment, I felt shock, anger, and disbelief. How could this happen to my father in the same country I proudly serve?
The National Guard's been speaking out Thursday morning, surrounded by support at the La Colmena office in Port Richmond. That's a nonprofit community organization that provides resources for immigrants.
Said there's other families that are going through this, and many families that will go through this. You know, so I just want to know that their voice is also important. You know, and just like everyone's here to hear my story, you know, I want everyone else to come forward with their story.
Jesus confirms that his father is undocumented.
Imagine that. All of that heartbreaking story about his father getting kicked out of the United States of America, getting arrested by ICE. Look at his service to his country. Look at all of these great things that this kid has done. And then he confirms his father's undocumented. So let me get this straight. CBP officers and or ICE officials actually doing their job, doing what they were supposed to do, ended up deporting his stepfather, not his biological father, his stepfather. And the news media is going to play to it because that's what all the bleeding heart liberals absolutely desire. I could care less at that point. The moment I ended up hearing it, I was like, dude, shut the hell up and get out of here. I can't believe this thing barely even made the freaking spotlight. I ended up coming across a city councilwoman out of New York City, District 19 for Queens, and she ended up freaking losing her mind over on social media because this is actually the scene. Hold on. Yo, you guys know, I'm going to rewind that sucker. You guys need to see that. This was the scene. Now, as you guys are sitting here staring at this video before I allow it to go on and before I start playing the next portions of what actually took place over inside New York City, what you need to understand is that there was a car club meetup over in this really nice suburban area of Queens. And what ended up absolutely happening after this was a security guard pulled up, probably from the neighborhood HOA or something like that, and told these people that they need to stop doing what they're doing. They then lit his car on fire, and that's where the story begins. Jason Carmichael says, how did he get on base, referring to the man's stepfather? Very good question. He probably had a driver's license issued by a state that gives real IDs to illegal immigrants because they don't care. That would be my guess. And then they end up having to go over. They end up getting checked, and they're like, yeah, he's in the system. Let him on the base. And they give him a freaking pass, and then he makes his way into the base. So this is how the situation started inside New York. By the way, over 30 minutes after the initial calls for service to law enforcement, it took them over 30 minutes to show up to this scene. Wait for it. This is just the beginning. Yeah, he got on base. Yeah, it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. And I mean, it's not exactly that difficult to get on a freaking military installation if we're going to be perfectly honest about it. But homeowner ended up getting the freaking crap kicked out of him. I want you guys to watch this video first as I take it. And there's several different angles of what's about to come up. And give it a second because the video is going to flop because people suck at recording things on their phone. But wait. This is literally right outside that area. Now, what you're actually looking at over here in the top left corner of your screen, allow me to mute it and hit the play button. And I want you guys to watch right up over here in this area. And what you're going to witness is you're going to witness the homeowner actually get knocked to the ground. I got a much better angle. That's his wife, by the way, trying to protect him. And they're just beating the freaking brakes off this dude for trying to defend his property because they were out on the street doing all of this crap. This is actually what's happening. And again, over 30 minutes, and I'm going to read to you what the actual congresswoman ended up saying about what took place and who they sent. It wasn't the police that ended up getting sent to the scene. No. That's not what happened at freaking all. There is a different angle. Excuse me. Let's get this up. There's a different angle of it. There's your fire. As you see him rolling out. Notice that car with the little flashy lights on it sitting up over there at the top corner of it. I'm going to scrub through this and make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah. And they're all just kind of rolling out and slowly taking their time. Well, this is actually what ended up going down in front of the house. And I want you guys to watch this very close. This man actually ended up coming out of his house with a baseball bat. And then you had these people come over and literally start beating the freaking brakes off him. They jumped him like a bunch of freaking thugs.
We'll start hip hop.
Let me blow this up nice and big for you.
GTA 6. GTA 6. You want to videotape also? Whatever. 30v1. Oh yeah, they want to get it on. Yo, get him off the property. That's all you.
Now, I'd like to point out the fact that this is a very affluent neighborhood. I have no idea how much those houses cost over there. Absolutely zero, right? And I wish the guy had a dang gun on him, but welcome to New York. He's probably not even allowed to swing the bat. I'd be surprised if they didn't arrest this guy for intimidating. He let the freaking criminal off, all of them that you're about to see here in just a sec.
Ari, cover your face.
Wait for it. Pay attention.
Yo, chill.
Yeah, I want you to guess how many bones on that man ended up getting broken. Just take a stab in the dark. How many bones on that guy do you think got broken in that little altercation? I showed you several different angles of that going down, but it's actually quite disturbing the amount of injuries that he ended up receiving. When we go back to the original person that ended up posting it, which is, excuse me, did I say congresswoman? No, it's a city councilwoman, Vicky Palladina. I think I ended up saying that right. She said, last night in Malba, a large group of individuals from outside my district conducted an illegal takeover of a quiet residential street at approximately 12:30 a.m. It's not the first time it happened. Private security guard attempted to calm the situation. He was assaulted by a mob and his vehicle was set on fire. He suffered significant injuries. Don't even know what injuries of the security guard. A local resident was also hurt. Response to this incident was less than ideal. Residents reporting the incident to 911 were told that Quality of Life Team and 311 should handle the situation. I don't even know what the hell a Quality of Life Team is, but people called 911 because there is a car on fire in the middle of their street and people are literally taking over their properties and people are getting in altercations with baseball bats and jumped. They 911 in New York told them to kiss off, dial 311, and that this is a situation for the Quality of Life Team. Now, how well do you think this is going to go over when Madami ends up getting in office? It's going to get worse. Absolutely freaking worse. They end up talking about the guy. He had his collarbone broken, his freaking arms in a sling, like the fractures, all sorts of freaking crazy stuff coming out of like this area. It's absolutely ridiculous to me that they do that they ended up like just letting it happen. This is suspect number one that they're after for the alleged assault that ended up taking place over there. And I believe this is actually a suspect number deuce. Suspect number two. I don't even know what to tell you. I could only imagine the fact that they ended up picking this like affluent neighborhood and all that other crap. No, it's not a gang. It's not gang violence. It's a car club. There's a car meetup for them just to go rip and wreck these neighborhoods apart. And I got a feeling, if you guys listen to Madami and we go back and we look at that video and you see like the massive houses and all of that stuff, I got a feeling, just a freaking feeling, that all of that stuff was because it was a predominantly affluent neighborhood or a rich white neighborhood, something of that nature. And that they went over there just to terrorize the people. They ended up beating the freaking crap out of the dang security guard. The guy that ended up getting assaulted was 50 years old. And he had a fractured shoulder, fractured ribs, and a fractured bone on his face. Fractured shoulder, a fractured ribs, and a fractured bone on his face. And what do you think is causing all of this outrage? Well, it would be the misinformation, disinformation that is being pushed by the left, in my opinion, such as this.
Good afternoon. Democratic members of the Committee on Homeland Security are holding today's hearing for a very simple reason. Donald Trump's immigration raids are targeting U.S. citizens and...
What? No way. They're going after they're targeting U.S. citizens, according to this man. Holy freaking crap. This is the House Homeland Security Democrats, man. There's got to be some serious stuff.
Terrorizing Americans' communities, and our Republican colleagues refuse to do a damn thing about it. Despite repeated requests from committed Democrats, Republicans have done no real oversight of the Trump administration or the Department of Homeland Security or Congress.
Oh, this is clearly Republicans' fault. It's a good thing the Democrats set up an oversight committee like Overwatch on the immigration website. And we're going to go take a look at that real quick and take a look at some of these crazy arrests and crazy things that ICE has been doing.
Even in the face of horrific video footage of masked border patrol and ICE agents roving through American communities, assaulting and detaining U.S. citizens, including pregnant women, veterans.
Veterans, I'm glad you brought that up. I have a veteran example here in just a little bit that they'd like to talk about.
Senior citizens, clergy.
Oh, clergy, like that priest that we ended up capturing on camera the other day that was clearly not taking directions from the officers and going over, getting in their face to the point where somebody had to like hold him back. Let's keep going. Oh, children, right. Like the adult that everybody tried to convince you was a minor that ended up getting arrested at a Walmart.
And children, Republicans have remained, as we say in the South, as silent as the grave. They are loyal to Trump over their fellow Americans, an appalling violation of the oath they swore to the Constitution. That's not America first at all. In fact, it's un-American. So Democrats are doing what Republicans want, sounding the alarm on what Border Patrol and ICE are doing to American citizens in communities across the country under the Trump administration.
Devil, That man's a Nazi, if you guys didn't know. Donald Trump's a Nazi, and it's a good thing. Like, I'm really happy they ended up giving us a website that we can go over and check out, like such violations of the law like this one that they actually have listed on their website. I can actually take you guys over and walk you through on this one. If you can't read it, it says 11/4/2025, Cypress Park, California. And I remember this one because I ended up showing it on the podcast the day it happened. Ozzy Mick coming in, gifting us Speak the Truth membership. And then they ended up labeling it Father Separated from Toddler in Immigration Raid is Released. Over in California, a U.S. citizen concerning arrest and or detention. He's the father of a toddler. You guys remember him? He had a kid in the back seat. They came over and ended up arresting him. Ended up moving his car. Took the baby. They took the baby. What'd this guy actually do? Quote, during the operation, a U.S. citizen exited his vehicle wielding a hammer and threw rocks at law enforcement while he had a child in his car. No shit. DHS said in a statement. He was arrested for assault, and during his arrest, a pistol was found in his car. That is reported stolen out of the state of New York. The individual has an active warrant for property damage. The statement continued. According to a federal criminal complaint, Quinones has been charged with unlawful possession of a firearm by a person previously convicted of domestic violence. The devil you don't know, coming in gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. This is no kidding. And I kid you not.
So all the crime that took place last night,
Who's talking? This is no kidding. Listed. Why is everything just sounding off now? Just like lighting up, doing its own thing over here. Like, I don't freaking get that. But this incident, no kidding, is listed on their website. Like, not even joking, of the Oversight Committee's website. Like, we can go up over here to the Oversight Immigration Enforcement Dashboard. This is what they set up. Look at this poor preacher. This is the guy, by the way. This one right here is the one that ended up getting arrested because he was getting in the face of the freaking cops and like going off. And people want to pretend like he didn't do anything wrong. So they put that clergyman up there on the screen because, he did something wrong, right? And then you go down over here and then you just end up coming across it and you could literally go down. It looks like they're updating it a little bit throughout the day. But yeah, here's your California one. And you could literally click on it, open it up, and it takes you over to the exact article. It's like they don't even they're just citing news sources and it's like they don't even read it. Boyle Heights beat. That was the source for everything that I ended up telling you about his freaking criminal convictions, a domestic violence offender, and all of that other crap. Like, he is a raging pile of garbage. It's freaking disgusting. And again, that took me about 5 minutes to find, just going over and digging through their website. But, who knows? They're just doing all of that. This is probably one of my favorite stories that ended up coming out, which is I am a U.S. citizen who was wrongfully arrested and held by ICE. Here's why you could be next. Yeah, no, I don't think so, bub. That video is absolutely freaking redonkulous if we actually end up getting into that. Let me see if it is actually on here, because what they ended up claiming on that one. Hold on. Nope, I'm gonna lose it on this one. Let me see if I can't find it real quick. I could have sworn I put it on this thing, and it looks like I didn't, and it's gonna piss me off if I can't find it. This dude literally ended up. I know I ended up putting something on it so I can pull this up for you guys. I had to do some background research on this guy who is a raging pile of garbage within himself. And what he ended up doing. Oh, come on, where is it? This guy. Pretty sure it's him. Yep, this is him. Let me get this up for you. You guys are going to want to listen to this.
And they put me in this. They put me in the cell. I'm naked in like a hospital dress and just a concrete bed with like a mattress, a thin mattress, and they leave the light on 24/7. There's a glass door. An officer's just always sitting out there. The psychiatric nurse comes and checks on me once a day, and so from Friday morning to Sunday afternoon when I'm released, I'm literally in that cell, naked.
Oh man, so this is one of those veterans that they're talking about. Incock Faraday. Thank you, sir. Coming in, giving out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. This is one of the examples he's talking about. This is a veteran. He ended up getting arrested in the great state of California, Gavin Newsom's crap hole. And he's whining and complaining about how he got thrown in freaking custody. And he's trying to play it off as if it's because he's Mexican or he's Hispanic, something of that nature.
Just in that room.
What the fuck?
With the light on.
How is this real? Like, this is a nightmare. I mean, like, my blood is boiling right now, and I knew that it was bad. I didn't realize how bad it was. That's fucking insane.
That is insane. That's insane. They threw him in a jail cell. Say it ain't so. What did he do?
Like, that's something from like a TV show. Like you're in Guantanamo or something. How is that possible that happened?
I'm literally wondering the same thing. I was just the entire time I was in there, I was just hoping like I would just want to see my kids again. Like literally that's the only thing that matters.
So remember that he's a father. Before I tell you what he's actually accused of doing, remember, he's a father.
Just like, I literally just want to see my kids. Like,
and a vet.
Like, just that whole like time, that was the only thing on my mind. Just
how old are your kids?
My daughter had just turned 3, and her birthday party was that Saturday. That I was in there.
And what did they? Did your family know where you were? Like,
all they knew was that I was arrested by ICE, and that was it. They didn't know where they took me. They didn't know where I was. They called all these agencies, the sheriff's office in Ventura, Camarillo, like Oxnard. They called the jail, and they gave them nothing. They never said where I was. They just said that they don't associate with anyone. And that was it. They just kept giving them the runaround.
Wow. He must have done something really freaking insane in order to make that happen, right? I mean, ICE just wouldn't go around arresting
They put me
people.
on suicide watch.
Oh, stop it. ICE just wouldn't go around arresting random people, right? That U.S. citizen. They wouldn't just do that. Tell you what they would do, though. They would go and conduct a raid. As CBP and ICE agents were executing criminal search warrants on July 10th at the marijuana sites in Camarillo, California, George Reitz, a U.S. citizen, became violent and refused to comply with law enforcement. He challenged agents and blocked the route by refusing to move his vehicle out of the road. CBP arrested Reitz for assault. So he assaulted somebody. U.S. citizens are not wrongfully being arrested by ICE. DHS enforcement operations are highly targeted and not resulting in the arrest of U.S. citizens. We do our due diligence. We know who we are targeting ahead of time. These types of smears are designated to demonize and villainize our brave ICE law enforcement. This kind of garbage has led to more than 1,000% increase in the assaults on enforcement officers. Bingo. You want to call him a Christman actor? No. What he was a security guard. Allegedly, this is what I've been able to read so far. He was a security guard at this freaking California marijuana farm where DHS and ICE ended up like showing to bust. And for some reason, he thought he didn't have to let them on the property. And he ends up assaulting them. Allegedly, according to DHS.gov, he ends up assaulting one of them. But he's going to sit there and he's going to cry. Now ask yourself this question. You're a father, you're a veteran, law enforcement officers show up that tell you that they have a warrant and that they're coming in to do their job, and you decide to not only restrict their movement, impede their investigation, but also assault one? No, say it ain't so. It's like that other knucklehead we just had on that was doing stuff. Now, over inside of St. Paul, Minnesota, we had a similar problem today.
They do have cans, spray cans. St. Paul police is walking up. They're trying to force a perimeter. We are illegal.
Now, allegedly, what ended up taking place over in St. Paul, and don't worry, it's about to get good. Allegedly, what ended up taking place over inside of St. Paul was DHS/ICE ended up showing up to arrest somebody that ended up getting in a car accident. He was an illegal alien, ended up like greatly injuring somebody. And so they showed up to arrest the dude and get his butt off the street because this liberal government isn't going to do anything about it. I see Aguilar was on RT. I could care less. If the Russians want to listen to him, great. I could care less, man. I really could. This dude, though, holy freaking cow. So they show up over there and they decide to go off on them and start going after him. Just go to town, right? The mayor of that location ended up coming out and making some pretty brutal freaking, I don't know. Here's what the mayor had to say about it. Then I'm going to show you what actually happened. Wyatt Gilliams says, bit off topic to current talking points, but did you hear about the billions in fraud centered around Minnesota Somali immigrants, and now Trump is ordering their deportation? Yeah, I've actually got a case on that coming up in just a second. Buddy, you might want to stick around.
We're trying to figure out what happened. The ICE agents showed up in St. Paul the way they have before, and the way they are in other communities and things like that. We're trying to get our arms around kind of what ended up happening after that.
What about the community reaction? Have you got any handle on that?
Community members are frustrated, and this is what we see ICE agents doing all over the country: is showing up, creating havoc, creating chaos, and leaving us with, leaving local communities trying to figure out how to kind of navigate the trauma that they create. And that's
the trauma of DHS showing up to your city and arresting an illegal immigrant that just injured somebody the day prior. Sounds horrible. Sounds really traumatic.
Part of the troubling practice that they're creating. I will say that we just saw chemical munitions and things like that were used. And one of the things that I share with the crowd is I have questions, same as everybody else does, about what precipitated that and why.
Really? You don't know why chemical munitions were deployed against your people? Really? Because I do. You want to see? It's coming up.
I'm not going to try to, explain every single thing, or I'm not going to try to justify every single thing. That's why we have investigative processes. That's why we have body cam footage. That's why we have the use of force policies that we put in place. Frankly, I believe that our police department is good at holding ourselves accountable for our actions, making sure that our actions kind of fall within kind of our use of force policies. I'm not suggesting that they don't, but I'm suggesting that what's important to me, what I've said from the beginning, is transparency, and so that we can fully understand what happens and why in our community.
You need to understand what happens and why.
We have already covered this, but two state reps, Athena Hollins and Lisa Kozlowski, told me that St. Paul police are the ones who pepper sprayed them. So does that raise your level of concern here?
I guess my level of concern started at a 10, so I don't know that my level of concern could be raised. It certainly gives us some action items to follow up on, to understand what exactly precipitated that, and to understand exactly why and how that happened. And like I said, I don't have the ability to speak on that one way or the other. I imagine our police department will be sharing something about kind of what precipitated that, but that's one of the questions that we'll have.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do the good old mayor a favor here, and I'm going to show you some of the things that might have precipitated the use of chemical agents. Are you ready for this?
Fuck you!
Now, I'm going to pause the video right here because I know what you all are thinking. Why would the cops need to be shooting pepper balls and walking backwards behind their vehicle if there's just people that are walking down the street over inside of St. Paul? Oh! You guys saw that, right? They're throwing hard objects over there. Big surprise. Nothing like a guy wearing a peace symbol in the blue section of his American flag while flipping off ICE agents who had to deploy tear gas because people are throwing hard objects, busting out their windows, and everything else that's going on. Somehow, the mayor wasn't able to actually figure out that his people were being a bunch of freaking nut jobs out there on the street. Here's another example right here. You guys see this? They're telling him to get back. I want you to look at this. This is the residence that they ended up going over there in order to serve it. We end up having this massive crowd of people show up. Massive crowd surrounding the freaking crime scene, impeding their duties,
That's not what you guys do. No. It said in any other situation. I'm just saying if they how do you guys
You guys get the idea, right? Like, I showed up to rip a freaking illegal off the street. City chooses to do nothing about it. Mayor stands there and basically lies to the freaking camera. Maybe he didn't know what was going on, but I got a feeling he could call, like, I don't know, the freaking police chief and be like, what the hell's happening? And the police chief could be like, yeah, dude, they're throwing rocks and freaking rioting around the freaking building. You mean to tell me that this scene was going on for this long and that the mayor couldn't figure out why that was happening? I got another video, too, of ICE trying to leave the city and them just like crowding the vehicles and not even letting the vehicles pass through, just going up over and around it. Yeah, pepper balls. They're shooting pepper balls at them. God forbid they end up blasting freaking pepper balls. Like, look. All of it, because ICE had to show up and deport an illegal immigrant that freaking got in a car accident and injured somebody. Allegedly. All of that because of a freaking illegal. And they decide to riot and rip their dang city apart. It's absolutely freaking insane. There's other videos of St. Paul. I got so many dang videos of St. Paul. Apparently ICE did end up showing up over inside of Dearborn as well, allegedly, and pulling illegal immigrants off the freaking street because they have no business being there. No, they're not undocumented. They're illegal. Can't say that enough. Like, it's great. They're finally made their way over to Dearborn. Maybe Jake Lang going over there and doing whatever the hell it was that he did, spouting his racist garbage, actually got ICE to get up and go over there and do it. But I got a feeling it has to do with a lot of the different terror plots that ended up coming out of Dearborn over the last 2 months. What did you imagine that? And I can't wait for people to come out and lose it on freaking ICE and DHS for going over and picking up illegal immigrants out of freaking Dearborn and accusing them of being actual racists. Which brings me to my next point. These seditious six. God forbid they actually own up to the crap that they ended up doing. God forbid they actually come out and say, you know what? As a retired field grade officer inside of the military, as a combat veteran, as somebody who commanded troops in combat, I know the dangers of trying to undermine the chain of command. I didn't like it when I was in charge. Surely we shouldn't have that taking place inside of the United States. Now, if for some reason you don't think that I have the ability to speak on this, maybe somebody that like teaches at West Point might be able to shed some light on it.
I want to ask you about the recent video by Democratic lawmakers urging troops to not obey illegal orders. First, what was your reaction to that? And if you saw any reaction among the cadets at West Point that you work with?
Well, that's politics, and West Point does not do politics, does not do partisanship. My first reaction was, why the hell did you put this video out? I know you're trying to poke at him. Of course you don't obey an illegal order. Of course there are standards and processes that our military has followed, not just for decades, but for centuries. That's a given. Mm-hmm. You're doing this just to create a political issue. And shame on you, because there are men and women who are serving in Japan, in Korea, all over the globe, in the Middle East, in other Asian countries. And this is Thanksgiving. And they're not home. And they're sacrificing for this country. And you're playing politics at this point?
We're going to talk about Thanksgiving, but the reaction from the Pentagon was to investigate Senator Mark Kelly, a 25-year veteran of the Navy, by bringing him back, reactivating him so that he could be court-martialed.
First of all, C-SPAN, get your facts right. They're investigating him to determine whether or not they're going to pull him back to active duty in order to court-martial him. They're investigating everything that he's got going on. So has that happened yet? No, they haven't. They're investigating, but they haven't called him back to active duty. He's still spitting his stupid rhetoric out there, trying to back up and double down on his claims, along with the idiot from frickin' Colorado. He seems to also love to run his mouth.
Pending the investigation, of course.
Why are we doing this? Just stop. There's a word that I've used now, and I've been studying this to try to figure out what that language is. And it's very simple. One word. Enough. All caps. Exclamation points. Enough. Enough of the commentary, enough of the divisiveness. The military is not a political organization, is not a mouthpiece, and should not be dragged into politics. Stop doing this. And it's happening on both sides. You got to cut it out, because you asked me at the beginning of this, what is a breaking point? That's a breaking point. Thank God the generals and the admirals and the people who serve us don't play politics. Thank God they keep quiet. That's what's different between this government.
Many of those admirals and generals have been purged by this administration, by this Pentagon.
No.
Are you concerned?
No, they hadn't been purged. They were given a chance to turn in their retirement packet and move on with life if they couldn't live up to it. And I got a feeling, particularly with something that I'm about to show you, that message hasn't been received very well.
About that and that the new people coming in, we had a caller say, look, the new people are not loyal to the Constitution. They're loyal to President Trump.
That caller doesn't know. And one of the things I've learned is humility, to acknowledge what I don't know. We have to assume that they're being chosen because of their capability. This is what concerns me. For my lifetime, and it's been a long one now, there's never been any hint. Generals will talk after their service, but there's never been any politicization. And no one, and that is a capital N, capital O, no one should bring politics into the military, because that is our last, best line of defense.
Yeah. Only problem is that they did inject politics into the military, and they started doing it when they were pushing trans rights issues. It started when they removed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It started a long time ago underneath Barack Obama. That's when they started injecting politics in the military, when they started pushing women through Ranger School, BUDS, the Q course, all of these different things. Marine Corps Infantry Officer Training Program, all of that garbage trying to prove points. And of course, they're not going to admit that they lowered the standards. They're not going to admit that they changed run routes. They're not going to admit that they allowed some of these women, which normally should have been FTRs or failures to return from training because if they quit or they didn't meet certain standards, to actually continue on. LOMs in Ranger School ought to be an NTR and never to return. When you have a lack of motivation, that's when you end up getting kicked out and dropped, but they failed to do that. And that's when the politicization of our military actually started. Got to the point where all the way back, and I want to say it was 2017, a group of cadre from the Special Forces Qualification Course, the Green Berets over in Fort Bragg, ended up releasing a letter talking about how jacked up the standards had gotten all the way back then. Still, nothing. And today, they are currently using the military. And do you think it had some sort of effect, maybe, on our military? Do you think maybe that wokeness had seeped its way in? Do you think maybe we're seeing the actual ramifications of this playing out today? For those of you guys that don't think it's actually serious, there's been like a chief warrant officer. There's been several command level positions, ranks and grades that ended up coming out and starting this freaking crap with the administration, openly speaking out on TikTok and X and everything else, going against it. But it's not just them that are doing it. They've done their time. They'll probably get let off on like little to nothing. But it's even the lower enlisted. And right now we might have people being sent over into Chicago, Charlotte, New York City, Portland, Los Angeles. They might be sent everywhere. And the last thing we need is them defying orders, because God forbid they actually perceive something as illegal. Jack Morgan says, what's up, man? How are you doing? What do you think of the things going on with Bolsonaro? I'm not sure what's going on with that. Maybe I'll have to go look it up real quick while I let this video play. This is a active duty airman.
Here in my hands, I have a written paper so I can be very articulate and clear about this message. May 2nd, 2023, I raised my hand and swore an oath to protect the Constitution and the land of the free with the people that reside within. the immigrants paying U.S. taxes, building homes, working blue-collar jobs. I serve to protect these people. They are our people, the ones that came into the U.S. authorized on a visa or green card, getting stripped away from families, undocumented children, losing parents, friends, siblings, pulled from homes to sit in a concrete room. They are kids. I don't need to be Hispanic to know this is wrong. I wear the name United States across my chest daily. I am a reflection of this country. I'm not proud to say this is a country I'm serving if it means destroying the lives of people that provide for this nation. Yes, there is a legal process, but it can be bettered. The colonists didn't have to pay thousands of dollars or get a visa to be on this stolen land. I might lose the uniform I wear, but then what is the First Amendment?
Yeah, you're going to lose the uniform you wear because you just called the United States stolen land, you freaking nut job. You also said you weren't proud to serve in that uniform in the United States of America because you don't agree with everything that's going on because you've been fed lies on TikTok and social media. Unfortunately, the youth of this country have been corrupted by a buttload of misinformation and disinformation that's going on. I've just documented it. You would think that you could go over to, like, you know, the House Oversight Committee, the Democrat side, and take a look at what was going on actual concerning cases, and they would be concerning. That they wouldn't be fathers that chose to get out of a vehicle with their freaking newborn infant in the back with a hammer and start chucking rocks at ICE agents who, oh, by the way, is a domestic violent offender who's not allowed to have a freaking firearm, who has a stolen firearm inside of his vehicle and then ends up resisting arrest. I'm sorry that you don't get that information, friend. Maybe somebody can refer you over to the Speak the Truth podcast so you can actually get some of that factual information. Jack Bolsonaro. Yeah, it looks like he ended up getting arrested for, or I'm sorry, not arrested, but sentenced over to court for 27 years for a coup plot. I'm going to have to look into that, man. I ended up seeing it come across my feed, but I had a lot of other things that were going on in my life, so I didn't dig into that one. It's quite a bit, particularly once you start talking about South America and stuff like that. It gets a little bit shady. What's going on down there? Jack Ray coming in, giving out a 5 Speak the Truth memberships as we get it going. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is not something that I'm going to let go. It's something that I'm going to continue to dig into. And I have a very good plan coming up for the very near future. I was supposed to be over inside of Wyoming visiting the sheriff tomorrow because there is a sheriff up there that is actually going around with his deputies. They have ICE trained deputies and they're arresting truck drivers that are driving with CDLs issued out of all of these different states who happen to be illegal immigrants. And they're working alongside DHS and making sure that they end up getting booted out of the country. Had to end up rescheduling the interview with them, so I'm pushing that to the right 1 week. But I'm going to have that story for you guys hopefully next week. I actually got to shoot them an email back. They canceled on me earlier. So got to solve that problem and get that rescheduled for next week. Now, doesn't mean that I'm not going to be going over into North Carolina. I actually have a really good idea. Speaking with some friends about what's going on over there in North Carolina, and they're saying it's very hard to determine where all of this stuff is going to be going down. However, me being the guy I am and applying my analytical skills, discovered a way that I could actually figure out where everything's going to be going down. So I'm going to be booking a plane ticket and head out there in the very near future. One day, I'm not going to tell you guys when I'm leaving, but one day you guys are just going to see me go live at a random hour, and I highly suggest you end up tuning into that. So if you see me go live sometime over the weekend, maybe next week sometime, maybe you should actually tune in and see what I have going on out over there. C88, I'm sorry, I apologize. I got no time for Discord tonight. Ended up switching things up, but we can do Discord tomorrow night. How about we knock that out? North Carolina started this crap from Virginia. No, man, North Carolina didn't start it. All of the sanctuary states, Joe Biden allowing these people across the border. This is something that I've been talking about and I've been throwing out for a very, very long time. All right. You look at what these people were brought into the country with, right? They were basically welcomed with open arms. Biden screwed the border over. We have sanctuary cities in this country. We have cities like Chicago that are giving out, tens of thousands of dollars to illegal immigrants for coming into their cities, giving them 6 months free rent, things like that, just to bring them over and welcome them in with open arms. Why wouldn't they want to come? Hell, if Chicago would give me $16,000 with 6 months free rent and a bunch of other crap, I might consider moving there. You know what I mean? And maybe Chicago is going to need to do that. Maybe New York's going to need to do that. It's freaking nuts just to get Americans to go and actually fill those back spots. The amount of construction workers and all of that crap that's going on, all of it. absolute freaking insanity. Now, somebody asked me about that judge and bringing it up. And I'm going to leave you guys on this one, because we do have a major issue here in the United States of America. Very, very big issue. And that issue is radical judges. And I went over one of the judges this morning coming out of the district court up over outside of Chicago, and how she's just absolutely lunabins and needs to get received. I don't think I've ever ran a poll on this channel before where I had 99% of you guys actually agree with something I said. Most of the time it's like 70, sometimes 60-40. I mean, who the hell knows? Sometimes 50-50. Sometimes you guys just don't agree with me whatsoever. But on that one, when I said, does that judge need to recuse herself? You guys ended up telling me like almost unanimously 100% that lady needs to go. Here's another one. And I'm going to put the poll up, and I want you guys to listen to this. And when I put this poll up, I want you guys to wait for the information, and I want you to vote.
A big reversal in a $7.2 million fraud case in Hennepin County. The judge has thrown out the jury's guilty verdict. This is a case Lou Raguse has been following since the beginning. The judge's actions could make it harder to prosecute state fraud cases in the future. Lou?
Julie, it's extremely rare for a judge to reverse a jury's verdict in a criminal case. Jurors I spoke to today told me it was not a difficult decision to find Abdi Fattah Yusuf guilty in a Medicaid billing scheme, and they're surprised by this development.
At the August trial for Abdi Fattah Yusuf, the jury heard evidence that he ran his home health care company Promise Health out of a mailbox at a Central Avenue address where multiple other home health care companies were supposedly located. Yusuf and his wife Lol Ahmed were charged with stealing $7.2 million of taxpayer money through Medicaid overbilling in a personal care assistant or PCA scam. The couple allegedly spent tens of thousands of the fraud money on luxury items for themselves. Despite the jury swiftly convicting Yusuf, Judge Sarah West last week decided they got it wrong.
It's reversing or overturning a jury's verdict.
Defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who's not affiliated with this case, reviewed the decision and analyzed it for KARE 11 News. He says Judge West ruled that the state's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence and that she believed the state did not rule out other reasonable inferences.
That, in fact, there could have been other reasonable theories other than guilt in this case. That's what it comes down to.
Despite the ruling, even Judge West wrote that she is troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at Promise Health.
I was stunned.
State Representative Kristen Robbins, chair of the House Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Committee, says she's now reviewing if any state laws need to be tightened.
We want to strengthen state law so that we can get prosecutions out of these cases, because clearly a jury thought he was guilty.
Jurors in the case can't believe the decision.
I am shocked. I'm shocked based off of all of the evidence that was presented to us and the obvious guilt that we saw based off of the said evidence. It was not a difficult decision whatsoever. The deliberation took probably 4 hours at most. Based off of the state's evidence that was presented, I was beyond a reasonable doubt.
The attorney for Mr. Yusuf, Ian Burrell, sent me a statement today that says, in part, Judge West's ruling affirms what we have maintained from the beginning, that our client, Mr. Yusuf, was wrongfully accused and did not commit fraud or racketeering. The Attorney General's office filed an appeal this afternoon, so the Minnesota Court of Appeals will take a second look at this decision. Julie.
So, Lou, did Mr. Tamburino, did he have any kind of emotional reaction? And this is pretty stunning. This does not happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, 72 million in fraud. The jury foreman ended up coming out and stating it only took 4 hours because the evidence was so overwhelming. So overwhelming. And they let him off, defrauding over 70 million US freaking dollars. One person so far said that judge shouldn't be fired. One. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're following. Make sure you like and make sure you share. Make sure you do every interaction that you can with this channel, because we got smashed with another big freaking bot attack the other day. But we're getting back there, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting back. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Yeah, he leaned towards the idea that this was kind of a one-off and that it would have a good chance at appeal. But the worry is that there's so many other cases just like it where somebody's in the exact same position as Mr. Yusuf but is charged with fraud. And if the judge can determine that maybe they didn't know that the fraud was going on underneath them in the case, then other judges could throw it out just like this one.
All right. Do you know how